Welcome to Together for Good, brought to you by Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio. Together for Good exists to recognize and uplift the many people working together for the good of San Antonio and the surrounding communities. Now here's the host of Together for Good, Cody Knowlton.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Hello, and welcome back, everybody, to Together for Good. This show is being brought to you by Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio as a part of our mission to honor our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and our Baptist heritage by encouraging and funding health-related programs at area nonprofits and churches. Through Together for Good, we connect our audience to the great work these organizations do in our community. Listeners, we're in for a treat today. This is the first episode we've ever recorded with the leaders of two different nonprofit organizations, which we've chosen because of the overlap in their work. One of the advantages of working as the president and CEO of the Baptist Health Foundation is being able to see the way nonprofits connect to each other and weave a network of support for the neighbors we all serve. So today we're going to talk about the complex issue of housing and to enlighten us about some of the ways housing insecurity affects our community. We have Erika Borrego, President and CEO of Corazon Ministries, and Tyler Ferguson, Executive Director of Blueprint Ministries. For long-term listeners, you may recognize Corazon and Blueprint as two organizations we've had on the show before, but you're going to hear from two different voices this time, as both Erika and Tyler have recently taken the organizational reins from their wonderful predecessor. So Erika, Tyler, welcome back to Together for Good. We're glad you guys are here and so grateful for what you do, and we're looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited as well.
Awesome.
Same here. Super excited to be here with you all.
Awesome. Well, so let me just ask, how long have you both been at your organizations and what is your background?
Absolutely. So I will actually celebrate 3 years with Corazon Ministries in May of 2026. My previous career was at the San Antonio Food Bank, and I was the chief operating officer there. And I spent a great 18 years at that organization, learned a lot, and decided to kind of bring my skills and talents to a smaller nonprofit that was looking to grow and stabilize. I'm a social worker by trade, so this line of work is very much in a lane that I have experience in. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this organization as it's evolving to meet the needs in our community.
Tyler?
Yeah, I've been at Blueprint for, it's been 18 months now. It feels like way shorter than that. And came to Blueprint from Any Baby Can of San Antonio. I was there, served as development director for a while, chief operating officer, and then interim CEO. Before that, I spent 12, 13 years in pastoral ministry, an associate pastor and executive pastor at a non-denominational church in New Braunfels. Coming to Blueprint was really cool for me because I've had the privilege in my career to be able to see the things that the church does really well and the things that the church struggles to do well, and then the things that the nonprofit community does well and struggles to do well. And it's really cool because those are different things, right? What the church does well is complementary to what the nonprofit community does well. So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to come and serve, I think, in an area in housing that a lot of people forget about, and combine those two parts of my background and see what happens.
Mm. Well, so let's talk about the focus of each one of y'all's organizations. Erika?
Yeah, so Corazon Ministries serves people who are unhoused in our community with unconditional love in action. We are the first responders or the last resort for many unhoused in our community. And what that means is we work with people who are having the most challenging issues that are preventing them from being ready for places like Haven for Hope, as an example, that is a transformational campus where you have to make some level of commitment to program to be able to be compliant with the programs there. We work to break down the barriers that do not allow people to be successful in places like that. And what I mean by that is we are a no-barrier day center where people can come without any restrictions. And we do not push or promote our programs. We let them organically evolve as we develop relationships with our individuals that we serve. The most important thing we do is love on people. And once we love on them and we give them a place to be able to feel comfortable and to start to develop trust, then we have significant breakthroughs in the work we can do to get them housed and stable. Primarily what we work with is people who are in a mental health crisis, people who have medical fragility in some way, shape, or form, and people who are in the throes of a substance use disorder. And so our primary work is to kind of peel away the layers of complexity as it relates to someone's ability to get into housing and start to tackle these complexities one challenge at a time. And we are in relationship with our individuals until we stabilize them and get them housed. But our work is to pull folks out of the shadows on the street and give them a chance to be successful at places like SAM Ministries and Haven for Hope, who are incredible partners of ours in the work we do every single day.
Tyler, tell us about Blueprint.
Well, first of all, I'm going to steal something that Erika just said and say that our primary purpose is to love on people as well. I love that. So Blueprint Ministries, we've been around 21 years, and we restore substandard housing for low-income homeowners in urban San Antonio. So we say we restore homes and we restore hope. And so what we do is we go into these homes that people are living in. These are houses that a lot of folks will drive by on their way to the grocery store, on their way on vacation, and they just assume the house is abandoned, right? And yet behind that front door is someone who's lived there sometimes 80, 90 years. I mean, we've worked with homeowners, a 93-year-old woman who was born in her house. And yet these houses are falling apart. But this is where they call home. This is their place. This is the thing that is keeping them from being housing insecure, right? And so we go in primarily with volunteers and we fix those houses. We replace roofs, drywall, siding, flooring, wheelchair ramps, all of that to make the house safe and dry. First of all, we want, a house to be a place where someone isn't going to get hurt or isn't going to get sick living in. But we also really try to get that house to a place where the homeowner can wake up and look around and say, I cannot believe I get to live here. This house is amazing, because that does so much for their mental health as well. But beyond all of that and covering all of that, like Erika said, is the fact that we get to love on these homeowners. They're so isolated and so lonely. And so we get to come into their home, whether it's with student volunteers, youth, adults, and spend time with them. And that's the most impactful thing we do.
So I'm just curious, how many unhoused folks are there in San Antonio that are considered senior adults?
So we actually, our last point in time count occurred in January of 2025. And that yielded a count of a little over 3,500 individuals who are unhoused in our community. Now, that includes people in emergency shelter. About 1,200 of those individuals are people who are unhoused, living in places not meant for human habitation, which means they're sleeping in cars, they're sleeping on street corners, they're sleeping under bridges. Roughly a quarter of those individuals, maybe a little bit more than that, are people who are seniors. Many of those are children. And some of those individuals are folks who are what you might consider an able-bodied individual by age standards, right? But many people that we serve are living with disabilities, even in that age range that one might assume is employable or easy to find employment. So a little bit around a quarter are seniors. Okay. A large number of our folks that we serve are children, and then individuals who are adults with medical or psychological or substance use issues that challenge them from being able to engage in an otherwise normal and healthy life.
Are your organizations both stops along the same journey? What are some other organizations that also become important to your clients?
So we are definitely tackling the same problem from different parts of the process, right? So I think it's really important for people to understand that whatever preconceived notions we have about folks who are housing insecure, right, 99.9% of the time, it didn't just happen overnight, right? It wasn't someone who was living great, no problems, and then all of a sudden they, quote unquote, made a bad decision or something and find them. It in so many cases is this gradual process, right? And so what we're doing is we're going into these homes. A lot of them are seniors. So we're working 85% of our homeowners are seniors, and we're trying to get their house to a place to where they don't end up over with Erika, right? Like we want to keep them from getting to that point of needing that assistance. So I do think we're operating on the same continuum.
And we're more on the reactive side of the problem, right? So maybe Tyler's group is more in the prevention side of the problem, preventative work to keep people housed. Our work is really the front lines of folks who are unhoused. Some of them for the very first time in their entire lives, and some of them who have been chronically unhoused for 5-10 years, but nobody's ever really welcomed them in enough for them to feel comfortable saying, I'm ready to make a change. So as you look at the continuum of care in the city, Corazon Ministries is frontline. And the evolution of folks as they're evolving out of being unhoused usually they end up at a place like Haven for Hope or SAM Ministries, which offer incredible housing programs with supportive services and opportunities to connect with employment and other types of stability options. Beyond that, you've got voucher housing through Opportunity Home. All the way up to market rate housing. And we have seen clients, many of them are my staff. 75% of my staff have lived experience. They've been homeless, they've been on the street and are now in their own home that they own or an apartment that they rent. So you see the gamut on that continuum of care. We're very front line, but all the organizations in the community, Haven for Hope, SAM Ministries, Opportunity Home, that we partner with, it just becomes a continuum of care until people are as stabilized as they can reach their full potential within our system.
Does lack of digital access affect both of your client groups equally?
Yes, for sure. For us. So really quickly to go back to your previous question, I want to point out to the listeners the number of organizations that exist in San Antonio that are helping the same clients that we're working with. So homelessness and this issue of housing it's not in a vacuum, right? And so the people that we work with, they're struggling with substandard housing, but they also might be a grandmother who's raising a grandchild with autism, right? And so they need Any Baby Can, or a family who needs Family Service Associate, right? So there's all these other organizations that are not housing related per se, but play a really important role in serving the people that we serve holistically. But the digital divide in San Antonio, back to that question, is huge. I mean, it's one of the biggest digital divides in the country, and so we've really had to make decisions as an organization. Like, we've got an online application, for example. Less than 10% of homeowners we work with use it, and so we're still mailing applications, and we're really trying to make sure we meet homeowners where they're at with the skill level they have. With AI and all of that, there's this propensity towards implementing and incorporating technology in every stop. But for us, we can't do that because our end user, our client, that doesn't make sense to them, right?
And we, very similarly, it's a challenge for our folks, but maybe slightly in a different way. Our folks don't have anywhere to charge their phone. And while they may be a little bit more capable of handling technology, if the device is dead, the device is dead. And so we provide at our day center a place where people can plug in literally all day and make sure their devices are up in case they have an emergency or they need to reach out to somebody or they need to complete some application in some process with any organization. But for our individuals, even mail is not an option without an address, right? And so we've got to work creatively with what means we have to communicate with an individual, but also to help them store important documents. I can't mail an application for any of our programs to any of our clients because they don't have an address to receive that. Yet, if we engage with someone to receive ID recovery services or document recovery services, then we bring their stuff in-house and we store it safely for them. So we try to work within those systems to make sure people have the tools they need to get the services they need.
Hey, listeners, if you're just now joining us, welcome. This is Together for Good, brought to you by Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio, and I'm your host, Cody Knowlton. Today, we've brought together Erika Borrego from Corazon Ministries and Tyler Ferguson from Blueprint Ministries in order to get a full picture of housing challenges in San Antonio and what both of these incredible organizations are doing to help our neighbors. So for our listeners who know that Baptist Health Foundation works to improve health, can you both connect the issue of housing and health?
Absolutely. So we are one of the few no barrier shelters in the city, and that includes accepting people who cannot meet their ADLs, their assisted daily living skills, which often means someone in a wheelchair who's not able to get on and off the wheelchair to shower or to go to the bathroom. And that creates an interesting challenge for some of our individuals because it also prevents them from being able to be independent enough to reside in even emergency shelter. At Corazon Ministries, we offer healthcare. We have an LVN on our team. We have 2 medical assistants. We do routine screenings for any kind of physical situations that might be arising, blood pressure, glucose, those types of things. We're constantly working with our individuals that we serve to make sure that they're as healthy as we can keep them and keep them out of hospitals and places where they might not be able to access all the services they need necessarily because they're uninsured or underinsured. And so healthcare is a critical piece to keeping our folks healthy and well. It even gives them access in a lot of cases to mental health treatment or substance use treatment. So health affects everything we do in the world of being unhoused in so much that it relates to medical challenges, mental health challenges, as well as substance use challenges that our folks are experiencing. And so it could be a barrier, but we work with great partners as well, the Corazon Medical Clinic, UT Health, and we provide on-site healthcare to try to alleviate as many of those problems as we can in-house to get folks to be able to be housed in a stable place.
Yeah. So for us, everything we do is about improving health outcomes, right? So the connection between someone's living conditions and their physical and mental health is unmistakable. Talking about physical health, we just worked with a family, just wrapped up with them last week, actually. And they had in their home what we would guess would be 150 to 200,000 cockroaches in the house. That presents a very obvious physical health issue, right? And so fixing that kind of situation is huge. But I would say the physical health impact of substandard housing is secondary to the mental health impact, right? It is really tough to wake up in the morning and look around and be embarrassed of your house. Mm-hmm. It's really hard when you have family that wants to come over for Christmas, but you say no because you're embarrassed, mm-hmm. right? And so to be able, what we try to do is go in and again, make that house a place where they are happy. They are excited that it's their home. We just worked with a family who she used to have her whole family over for Christmas, and she hasn't in years. And we did a lot of things, but our number one goal for her was we want you to be able to host family Christmas again in 2025. She's going to do that in a few weeks because she's not ashamed of her home anymore.
Mm. So what constitutes affordable housing in San Antonio? How much of that housing is available at any given time, and who is it available to? So that's loaded. That's a loaded question because there's so many different definitions of affordable, right? It's a lot of language around affordability for the type of homeowner we work with in their income bracket. It's laughable. What we say is affordable is not even dreamt of, right? A lot of the affordable housing stock, quote unquote, affordable housing stock that's not public housing is just in such bad shape that it's borderline not any better, right? It provides a roof over your head, but sometimes that's about it. And so we've got to elevate our affordable housing stock to a point where it's safe, accessible, and people can be proud of where they live without pricing people out. And I don't have the answer to that. That's a really tough conundrum. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we definitely have an affordability issue here. Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree. I think affordability is an issue, and I think housing options are not as ideal as one would hope. And really throughout any level of housing, right? So you've got market rate housing, you've got affordable housing, you've got deeply affordable housing, you've got voucher housing, and then emergency shelter and those types of scenarios. And there just isn't enough of any type of housing. Keep that in mind as you also think that there are not enough jobs paying living wages for people to be able to be in the housing that is considered even deeply affordable or affordable. And so we've got to be doing better as a community to provide more housing options, but also to provide employment that allows people to achieve housing stability. And without getting too far off track, if somebody can't afford to feed their children, there's great partners like the food bank that can help. But for ongoing long-term, solutions, people need to be able to advance in their jobs, in their careers, and they need to be able to develop their own stability and affordability of the housing options that are available in our community. And sometimes what that means is they have to sacrifice something. And I would argue that no San Antonian should have to sacrifice anything. We have a beautiful community, and we need to do our best to develop all the neighborhoods with equal access to parks and recreation and transportation. And we should all be able to live comfortably in this community. And right now, that's just a lack of availability of all the housing options along that whole continuum, and then wages keeping up to be able to give people flexibility and opportunity it's important too.
Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes people will say, I would never let my mother or father or child live in those conditions, but they may be missing some important history. How does family estrangement affect the work both of you do?
That's tough because it has a profound impact on what we do. And you're right, there's so much complexity to those stories that it's really hard for someone who hasn't been an intimate part of that family's life for generations to speak into, right? We make assumptions about people and about why families estrange from so-and-so, and we make judgment calls. And we don't know the backstory. We don't know what happened. And so we see it all the time. We see with homeowners all the time, I've got three children, but I haven't talked to them in 40 years, right? And yet we don't, that is never, ever, ever a reason for us to not work with someone. We don't know the why behind that. And even if we did, we have all done things to make our family mad, right? It was just Thanksgiving. Like we've all said things that, and so who are we to judge something like that? We're just there to help. But it definitely, when you've got a family member living close by who's able-bodied, even if they're not able-bodied, but can provide even moral support, that's huge. And yet most of the people we work with don't even have that.
And we're dealing with folks whose mental health and substance use has created challenges and wedges in their relationships. Ultimately, maybe they have slept on their family member's couch for a while, but then they stole something and ended up not able to have that person support or access to housing. We're reunifying folks. That happens. It's act of love, and it takes a lot of commitment on my team's part to engage not only with the individual who's in house sitting in front of us today, but also the family member that they've alienated, so we can send them back home now that they're sober. Now that their mental health is in order, that we've been able to stabilize them. Sometimes reunification is an option, and it takes building trust, again, not only with that client we're serving, but also with a family member who's going to welcome them back into their home. And I would argue that that's challenging because sometimes you violated someone's trust so many times that it seems impossible for you to regain that. But we have seen that is possible. And I do think we try to work in that space often because we need folks in their recovery journey, I would argue mental health or substance use, to have support. They need to have people around them that are going to support and believe in their ability to be healed and whole in a way that I believe and hope family can offer. Now, I would also say there's birth family and chosen family. And sometimes we're reuniting people with chosen family, not birth family. And that's also a dynamic that offers support and builds hope and trust for our clients that we serve.
So guys, can found family be part of the solution to our problems then?
I think, absolutely. Family is such a broad term. And so when we say family, what we say is we want that person to have someone significant in their life that means a lot to them, that they can count on, a mutually beneficial relationship so that they're not alone.
I also agree with that statement, but we do the work at Corazon to help find family. Sometimes people have been out of touch for so long and they don't even know where to start. And we've developed the tools and resources to be able to reconnect folks. And we often find that that is a very, very viable and healthy solution to solving this issue for our unhoused neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Well, Erika, Tyler, what an incredible conversation this has been. In fact, it's been so incredible. We're going to continue it on next week. So we're just grateful y'all stopped by today and are just leading these really two great ministries. So we know that collaboration and partnership can be a challenge, but it's incredibly worth it in the long run for our community members. So we're going to pause this episode and we're going to pick it up next time. But listeners, we're glad you joined us thus far. We hope you'll pick up the next podcast coming up and the next show. So we hope you've been encouraged by the work being done in our community to improve the lives of our neighbors. So as always, you can catch any of our episodes and your podcasts by visiting Baptist Health Foundation of San Antonio's website, bhfsa.org/Together for Good. Again, we're going to be back next week with Corazon Ministries and Blueprint Ministries to have another great conversation with these two great organizations about what's going on in our community. So God bless and take care, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in today for Together for Good. We hope you've been encouraged, uplifted, and inspired. Until our next time together, may the Lord bless and keep you. And in all things, to God be the glory.